In 74 AC, King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne were blessed once again by the gods when Prince Aemon's wife, the Lady Jocelyn Baratheon, presented them with their first grandchild. They were young grandparents, with the king only being 40 years of age at the time. Princess Rhaenys was large and fierce. She had the black hair of her Baratheon mother and the pale violet eyes of her Targaryen father. As the firstborn child of the Prince of Dragonstone, many held her as next in line for the throne, after her father, Queen Alysanne, chief amongst them. In 75 AC, the Red Keep was the site of another splendid wedding, as Baelon the Brave married his sister, Princess Alyssa. The bride was 15, the groom 18. Unlike their mother and father, Baelon and Alyssa did not wait to consummate their union. The bedding that followed their wedding feast was a source of much rabid rumour in the days that followed. Like her brothers before her, Alyssa Targaryen meant to be a dragon rider. According to the Dragon Keepers, they had to stop her from claiming Balerion the Black Dread. He is old and slow, they had to tell her. Princess Alyssa ascended into the skies upon Meleys, a splendid scarlet dragon, never before ridden. The princess was seldom long away from the dragon pit after that day. Meleys was as swift a dragon as Westeros had ever seen, easily outpacing Caraxes and Vhagar when she and her brothers flew together. The problem of Prince Vaegon persisted. Books remained his only passion. It was on the Prince Vaegon's 15th birthday in 78 AC that Jaehaerys and Alysanne broached the obvious solution to the Grand Maester, asking if Vaegon might have the makings of a maester. Elsa replied bluntly, no. Can you see him instructing some lord's children on how to read and write and do simple sums? Does he keep a raven in his chambers or any sort of bird? Can you imagining removing a man's crushed leg or delivering a baby? All these are required of a maester. The Grand Maester paused, then said, Vaegon is no maester, but he very well could have the makings of an archmaester in him. The Citadel is the greatest repository of knowledge in the known world. Send him there. May perhaps he will find himself in the great library. That, or he'll get so lost amongst the books that you never need to concern yourself with him again. 3 days later, King Jaehaerys summoned Prince Vaegon to tell him that he would be taking a ship for Old Town in a fortnight. The Citadel will take charge of you. It is for you to determine what becomes of yourself. The prince responded curtly, as he often would. Afterwards, Jaehaerys told the queen that he thought Vaegon had almost smiled. Baelon and Alyssa spent every hour together, most often in their bedchamber, and soon enough, the much hoped for result appeared. In 77 AC, Alyssa gave birth to a son they named Viserys. Septon Bath described the boy as plump and pleasant, who laughed more than any babe I've ever known, and nursed so lustily he drank the wet nurse dry. Against all advice, his mother clapped the boy in swaddling cloths, strapped him to her chest, and took him aloft on Meleys when he was 9 days old. Afterwards, she claimed Viserys giggled the entire time. Bearing and delivering a child may be a joy for a young woman of 17, like Princess Alyssa, but it's quite another matter for one of 40, like her mother. The joy was therefore not entirely unalloyed when her grace was found to be pregnant once again. Prince Valerian was born in 77 AC after another troubled labour that saw Alysanne confined to her bed for half a year. Like his brother Gaemon 4 years earlier, he was a small and sickly babe. In 78 AC, Valerian died, a fortnight short of his first birthday. The queen took the passing with resignation. I am 42 years old, she told the king. You must be content with the children I have given you. I am more suited to be a grandmother than a mother now, I fear. But King Jaehaerys did not share her certainty. Our mother, Queen Alyssa, was 46 when she gave birth to Jocelyn. The gods may not be done with us yet. The next year, Queen was once more with child. To her surprise and also dismay, Princess Gale was born in 80 AC when the Queen was 44. She was small and pale, but Grandmaster Elsa was determined that she would not suffer the fate of her brothers. Nor did she. Elsa nursed the princess through a difficult first year, until it finally seemed as if she might survive. When she reached her first birthday, still healthy, if not yet strong, Queen Alysanne thanked the gods. She was thankful as well that year to have finally arranged a marriage for her 8th born child, Princess Daella. My little flower was how the queen described her. Like Alysanne herself, Daella was small. She stood only 5 feet 2 inches, and there was a childish aspect to her that led everyone to meet her to think she was younger than her age. Unlike Alysanne, she was delicate as well, in ways the queen had never been. Her mother had been fearless. Daella always seemed to be afraid. She had a kitten that she loved until it scratched her. Then she would no longer go near a cat. The dragons terrified her, even Silverwing. The mildest of scolding would reduce her to tears. Daella was not clever. Even her scepter had to admit it. She learned to read after a fashion, but haltingly and without full comprehension of the text. The queen defended her daughter. Daella is sweet and kind and gentle. She has such a tender heart. Give me time and I will find her a lord to cherish her. Not every Targaryen need wield a sword or ride a dragon. At 13, Daella was sent to Driftmark to meet Corlys Velaryon, the grandson to the Lord of the Tides. 10 years older than her, he was already a celebrated sea captain. Daella became seasick crossing Blackwater Bay, and on her return complained he likes boats better than he likes me, and she was not wrong in that. At 14, she kept company with Daenys Swan, Simon Staunton, Gerard Templeton and Ellard Crane, all promising squires of her own age. But Staunton tried to make her drink wine, and Crane kissed her on the lips without her leave, reducing her to tears. By year's end, Daella had decided she hated all of them. At 15, her mother took her across the Riverlands to Raventree, where Lord Blackwood entertained Queen Alysanne, whilst his son paid court to the princess. Tall, graceful and courtly, Royce Blackwood was a gifted bowman and a fine swordsman, and a singer who melted Daella's heart with ballads of his own composition. For a short while it seemed as if the betrothal might be in offering, and Queen Alysanne and Lord Blackwood even began to discuss the wedding plans. It all fell to pieces when Daella learned that the Blackwoods kept the old gods, and she would be expected to say her vows in front of a weirwood tree. In horror, she told her mother they don't believe in the gods. As Daella's 16th birthday was fast approaching, and with her near womanhood, Queen Alysanne was at her wit's end, and the king too had lost his patience. On the first day of the 80th year since Aegon's conquest, he told the queen he wanted Daella wed before the year's over. If she wants, I can find 100 men and line them up before her naked, and she can pick the one she likes. I would sooner she wed a lord, but if she prefers a hedge knight or a merchant, I am past the point of caring, so long as she picks someone. In the end, it did not require 100 men, naked or clothed. Queen explained the king's command to Daella, gently but firmly, and offered her a choice of 3 suitors, each of whom was eager for her hand. It should be said that the 3 men that Alysanne had selected were great lords or the sons of great lords. Whichever man she married, Daella would have wealth and power. Borman Baratheon was the most imposing of the candidates. At 28, the Lord of Storm's End was an image of his father, brawny and powerful, with a booming laugh, a great black beard and a mane of thick black hair. He was the son of Lord Rhaegar by Queen Alyssa. He stood half-brother to Alysanne and Jaehaerys. Daella knew and loved his sister, Jocelyn, for years at court, which was thought to be much in his favour. Sir Tywin Lannister was the worthiest of the candidates, heir to Castle Rock and all its gold. At 20, he was nearer Daella's age, and thought to be one of the most handsome men in all the realm. The princess would be well protected in Castle Rock. There was no castle more impregnable in all Westeros. Weighed against Lannister gold and Lannister beauty, however, was Sir Tywin's own reputation. He was overly fond of women, and even more fond of wine. Last of the 3, and least in many people's eyes, was Rodrik Arryn, Lord of the Eyrie and Protector of the Vale. He had been a lord since the age of 10, a point in his favour. For the past 20 years he had served on the Small Council as Lord Justicar and Master of Law, during which time he had become a familiar figure about court, and a loyal friend to both the king and queen. In the Vale he had been an able lord, strong but just, affable, open-handed, and loved by both the small folk and his Lord Bannermen alike. In addition, he had acquitted himself well in King's Landing. Sensible, knowledgeable, good-humoured, he was regarded as a great asset to the council. Lord Arryn was the oldest of the 3 contenders. At 36, he was 20 years older than the princess, and a father as well, with 4 children left by his first wife. Short and balding, with a kettle belly, Arryn was not the man most maidens dreamed of, Queen Alysanne admitted, but he is the sort you asked for, a kind and gentle man, and he says that he has loved our little girl for years. I know he will protect you. To the astonishment of every woman at court, except perhaps the queen, Princess Daella chose Lord Rodrik to be her husband. He's good and wise, like father, she told Queen Alysanne, and he has 4 children. I am to be their new mother. What her grace thought of that outburst is not recorded in the histories. We do know that Grand Maester Elsar had said, "Gods be good."